Exfil ist ein Extraction-Shooter, aber weil alles, was Extraction-Shooter heißt, sich direkt mit Tarkov vergleichen muss, machen wir das direkt am Anfang, dann haben wir es hinter uns. Was haben die beiden gemeinsam? Waffen, Aufträge, taktisches Vorgehen und dann kommen. Das war's. Also, fangen wir mal ganz vorne an. Exfil ist ein Extraction-Shooter, der seit ein bisschen mehr als 3 Jahren jetzt in Entwicklung ist. Und das hat er eigentlich der Main-Dev Roberto auch alleine angefangen. Jetzt ist seit ein bisschen mehr als 6 Monaten ist Chris dabei und die beiden sind ein Team. Und ja, Rennen ist jetzt auch seit ein paar Wochen dabei. Ja, und seitdem ist da halt eine ganze Community drum entstanden. Es wurden viele Playtests durchgeführt und ja, eigentlich hat sich so grundlegend alles verändert. Denn sind wir mal ehrlich, ein Spiel allein zu testen, das ist sehr zeitaufwendig, kostet viel Geld und mental ist es auch sehr anstrengend. Ja, ich habe die Chance gehabt, mit Roberto ein bisschen zu quatschen, aber warum er genau dazu kam, Exfil zu entwickeln, darüber erzählt euch am besten ein bisschen selber. I just saw, oh, there's a playtest on Exfil. And I was like, oh no, it's just for creators. Dang it. I just applied as well on Steam. And then Steam was just like, yeah, take it. And I was like, okay. So I was playing a few rounds. And the first round was kind of rough because I had no idea what I had to do. And I think I got team killed as well.
Nice.
As it happens. And then I told my friend, oh, let's check out this game together. And he was like, yeah, okay. He's not a big Extraction fan usually, but the reason is the only game as an Extraction game he knew was Tarkov. And Tarkov is pretty hardcore with all those scavs running around, and if you be a scav, you don't know if that is a scav, can you shoot him or not, and all those things. Makes it not easy to just start that game, yeah. Without knowledge, basically. But he said like, okay, let's try it out. First round was rough with him as well. And I was like, oh, I think I will not like that game. But then the second round started and it was a snow round. Like the weather was snowy. A blizzard came up and I had a lot of fun because there were a lot of German people in this round as well, and we were talking just crap with them. And yeah, then I just came to the Discord and I just wrote the mod because I had a few questions because I started to like the game, and as time continued, I liked the game more and more and more, and yeah, I wanted to make a video about it because I think the game has a lot of potential. I think
Well, thank you.
the game
Thanks
is
for being...
not on top of a lot of people's head, but I think that has to change.
Well, I don't know. It's just we're just starting up. Like we just reached the 50,000, mark. I wanted to reach 50,000 wish lists, and Chris wanted to reach the the top 500 most wish listed games on Steam. So we reached this week, which was awesome. So both of us were there. But yeah, it's you're right. There are a bunch of extraction shooters coming out, and it's interesting to me because I'm not in my 20s anymore, so I've seen a lot of game come and go, and a lot of variety of different styles. It's always interesting for me to see that people first reaction is like extraction shooter, yes, it's another Tarkov, whatever, and it's interesting because to me Tarkov is not a military simulation. Where we come from in these games are actually, closer to experiences that Arma or Squad can give you. There's absolutely zero looting. And the fact that people tend to say, oh yeah, somebody else is trying to do extraction shooters, is just copying Tarkov. It's because they might be too young to remember what is the whole list of games that precedes Tarkov, which came in 2016, 2017. I don't remember exactly. And Tarkov is not a military shooter. I mean, it's not a mil sim shooter, right? It's realistic enough, but like it's not a mil sim. That's not what they want to do. And it's all based on looting, right? There is like this compulsive behavior where you want to keep everything you can and track everything and take everything you can. There's absolutely zero of that in Exfil. So when they compare it, I'm always a little surprised. And so that's why it's funny for me talking about exfiltration. Like this is a whole game genre now, right? Exfiltration, shooters, whatever. What does that mean though? It doesn't really mean anything. I mean, sure, you have to exfiltrate, but it's a standard military operation where you go in somewhere and then you go out, right? So it's not a big deal. It's just one of the possible missions you have to do. And so in this mission, the 2 people needed to escape, right? And the other 10 people needed to find them. So they had helpers, like they had canine and stuff like that. So you had dogs that went around in this forest to track the other 2 people down. And the other 2 people down had traps, right? And so the people following had GPSs and maps. And these elements still live today in Exfil. So like, 6 years afterwards, you still can plant traps in Exfil. I think you might have seen that. The GPS became so important, which is actually a clue feature and functionality of the game, but they all come from that. And the people would go, would escape, Exfil by helicopter. So these are the 3 elements that stay from that original game called One Step Ahead. But it wasn't really playable because it was a lot of empty times, just people running around the map. And when you actually met the players, it was maybe 5-10 minutes later of just running. And then was a very quick contrast often, and then you restarted the game again. So it was not really nice to play. It was interesting, for a couple of times, and then the third time you would be bored about it. And of course, like it wasn't really stable in terms of like the movements and the animations and whatnot. So that was about the time where I met Chris, and Chris was still an AWI, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong on this, but like he was of course doing his thing, and he was working, but. And we just started chatting a little bit about ideas. He tried it out, and he was very helpful, very nice since the beginning. And so we chatted, and then I said to myself, okay, I need to change this, because the problem with this game is that 10 to 2 is interesting because like it's a non-equilibrium, right? There's not balanced teams. It's interesting, but at the same time the playability is a little weird, doesn't really work. And so I said, well, I'm experimenting. I had a little community of people which are still around, of players, so I played with them. Many of them are like Arma 3 clans and stuff like that, because of course I knew Arma 3 clans, so they were helping me. So since the beginning, all the milsim approach, right, to this was there, because people were providing feedback for that. So I moved on and I did another thing, and I did a game where you had robots. Like the idea was that you would, like, I like the approach of having, doing a whole path, right? And the path is split into little smaller maps and smaller objectives. And the idea was like you have to infiltrate the territory where all these robots have taken power, because the AI whatever became sentient. And so you start with smaller robots, and you go further in the center, they get bigger and nastier robots, and you've got a variety of maps, right? You go forest, urban, underground, whatever. And then the idea was you get to the center where you get to the point where the AI chief is, and you have to destroy, whatever it is, the building, and that was the idea. So I started building a bunch of robots, and it was nice to play, but it soon became a little bit more like just, it's just robot, right? They just receive bullets. It's not necessarily super interesting. And I said, to do all this is a gigantic effort, right? There are so many robots, so many maps, so many things that can happen, and it's multiplayer and blah, blah, blah. And I said, I'm never going to finish this game. So if I go there, it's going to be really hard for me to get somewhere. And so the third game came along. Right. And while I was doing this, I was improving always the code base, right? My understanding of how Unreal works and improving the stability and all of that. And the third game was a thing called the Chernov experiment, where basically you are trapped into a multi-layer underneath building, underground building, and there is water coming up from the bottom, and everybody needs to go up. And every 2 minutes, the levels, the in between levels, you've got stairs, and these stairs gets closed, and so you're trapped with whomever is at your level for maybe 2 minutes. Then the stairs open up again, the water raises again, and you have to go up, right? And the idea there was that when the stairs are closed, you cannot shoot anybody. If you don't want to, like, you can start talking to people and maybe create alliances, to say, for example, you're at -3 levels, you're going to say, okay, man, come with me, let's clear the building. The idea is that you need to get to the top where there's an elevator, and then you are the one that escapes, and only one can escape. So that was the overall idea, right? It was interesting because then, I was thinking maybe we can tap into some interesting social logics here. See if people become friendly or they just want to kill, and be by themselves. And maybe those who get together, they are more powerful. But in the end, still, they can only be one. So they will need to, kill each other, even if they were friends for a period of time. And that's why it was called Chernov experiment, because it was a social experiment of some sorts. And I found this idea very intriguing, right? Very interesting. But again, it hit the hard truth of gameplay, where people would just not kill each other, and they would tend, especially if they were friends playing in the same game. And so they will all push to be, to go to the top. And then at the top, you would have like a 2 minutes, very intensive killing, and that was it, right? So it was not interesting. It would have been interesting if all the players in the game didn't know each other, but of course you play with your own friends, right? And so this gameplay also didn't make any sense. And so I said to myself, okay, I've tried many different styles, many different ideas. None of this has become a game. One step ahead in the fourth Rambo. Then it was called Subtype Grounds, with robots, and you need to go and kill the main intelligent AI. Then I said, okay, then let's try a social experiment. And I said, yeah, okay, all of this is nice. Can we go back to the basics and try to do something that I can actually finish and play, and with the things that I like, which is military simulation, and doing something that is not as big, of course, as Arma Squad. They're too big. Why can we concentrate on just the combat portion of military simulation? So not the transportation, the logic, all the discussions, the training, all that. No, let's try to see if I can have like 10, 15 minute matches where it's still military simulation, but concentrated just on the gunplay. And so I started building that. And with the help of my little community, it was like 30, 40 people, not more than this, I came up with this game where, and with the help of them, where basically what you're seeing now almost is there, which is like the helicopter is burning, and the reason behind that was somebody had this idea, right, which was like, otherwise it's just running. The people that come first can exfil first, and so like have the helicopter burning, and then let's go to a different place. Before reaching this game mode, which is what you see now, we tried at least 20 different game modes, which were not balanced at all. And so we came to this point, and Chris and I, all along all these things that I told you, sometimes we would just chat a little bit, right? Like, how's it going? How are you doing? And so when he saw this, where we got to, I told him, where I was, and he tried it out. And he said, you know what? I'm actually in a good moment of my life where I've got some time. Why don't we do this together? And so Exfil was born, and that's it. Then, he started the community. He started putting in maps, because I was more concentrated on doing, how the whole thing works. But he's really good at putting down maps and also strategies. I mean, he's good at various things, right? So we complemented each other. He took the only map I had and improved it, and then he added 2 new maps, actually 3 more maps, and and now and this is where everything started.
Aber was denke ich denn jetzt eigentlich über das Spiel? Also wie viele von euch wissen, ist die Unreal Engine eine Engine, die verdammt gut aussehen kann, zumindest wenn man ordentlich mit ihr arbeitet. Und ich persönlich finde, das sieht man auch in Exfil. Natürlich ist es noch in der Alpha und noch nicht auf dem grafischen Stand, an dem es am Ende sein soll. Aber Ich finde, das sieht jetzt schon echt geil aus. Was mir am besten gefällt, ist das dynamische Wetter- und Zeitsystem. Weil das trägt direkt zur Stimmung bei. Sind wir mal ganz ehrlich. Es kam nicht zu selten vor, dass man irgendwie in der Sonne gestanden hat und die Runde angefangen hat. Und dann am Ende stand man auf einmal im Schneesturm oder im Hagelgewitter drin. Also da haben sie auf jeden Fall was Geiles erschaffen. Aber zum aktuellen Zeitpunkt verfügt das Spiel erst über 4 Maps. Und auf denen können insgesamt maximal 32 Spieler in 4 Teams spielen. Und dann muss man versuchen, einen abgestürzten Helikopter zu finden. Falls wir dann einen Helikopter finden, müssen wir warten, bis dieser nicht mehr brennt, dann die Tür aufbrechen und den Laptop aus dem Helikopter sichern, geht dann auf jeden Fall einfacher. Und ja, dann fängt halt auch der Kampf gegen die anderen Spieler an. Das macht auf jeden Fall Laune. Und dann müssen wir halt versuchen, zu einem der markierten Plätze zu gehen und dort zu extracten. Das schaffen wir, indem wir einen Helikopter dort rufen. Aber spätestens dann, ja, dann wissen halt auch die anderen Spieler, wo man ist. Und dann, spätestens dann fängt auch der Kampf gegen die an. Allerdings ist das nicht der einzige Spielmodus, den es geben soll. Es sind noch andere geplant. Da konnte mir aber noch nichts Genaues drüber gesagt werden. Und vielleicht ist es auch besser so, weil ich meine, wir wollen ja nicht zu sehr gespoilert werden. Ein bisschen mystical muss das Ganze auch bleiben. Aber verrät er mir, dass auch noch andere Quests angedacht sind. Und ja, da bin ich mal gespannt. Auf jeden Fall wird auch aktuell an der Serverliste gearbeitet und ein Voting-System soll auch noch kommen. Aber am Ende des Tages soll der Admin des Servers auf jeden Fall die volle Kontrolle haben, weil das ganze Ding läuft Peer-to-Peer. Aber an der Stelle will ich mich auch einfach nochmal bei Roberto und dem ganzen Team hinter ihm nochmal gratulieren. Die haben jetzt 50.000 Wishlists auf Steam geschafft und ich muss sagen, das ist echt stark. Und ich bin mir sicher, dass das noch mehr werden. Ja, auf jeden Fall möchte ich auch nochmal was anderes verraten. Und zwar, wenn die Entwicklung und der Wachstum der Community so weitergeht, wird mir versichert, dann soll Exfil noch vor Ende des Jahres in die Alpha gehen. Also Leute, weiter, geht auf Steam, packt es in eure Wishlist rein, schaut euch das Spiel an. So, also kommen wir zu meinem Fazit, ne? Ich denke, das Spiel hat sehr viel Potenzial. Vielleicht wird es nicht die Playerbase von einem Call of Duty ablösen. Ja, vielleicht auch nicht von einem Counter-Strike. Aber das will es ja auch gar nicht. Das ist ein ganz anderes Genre. Das ist ein Nischenspiel. Und ich bin mir sicher, wenn das Studio so weitermacht, ihrer Vision folgt, dann wird da auf jeden Fall ein krasses Spiel draus. Natürlich müssen dafür noch die eine oder andere Animation verbessert werden. Aber so wie es jetzt gerade läuft, bin ich da guter Dinge. Ich hoffe, euch hat das Video gefallen. Lasst gerne einen Daumen da, hoch oder runter. Das liegt bei euch. Jo, und wenn ihr es noch nicht getan habt, schaut auch gerne bei Exfil auf dem Discord vorbei. Ich wünsche euch einen schönen restlichen Tag. Clazziq out.